Bottling beer or cider is an essential skill for those diving into the art of homebrewing. Proper bottling ensures that your beer or cider won't spoil, is properly carbonated, and maintains its taste. Here is a step-by-step guide on what we consider to be the easiest method of bottling, including best practices and some pro tips. All right, we're going to need some materials. The first thing you're going to need are bottles. Typically 12 ounces or 22 ounces is what is used. You can reuse old bottles actually from the store, or you can buy brand new bottles. They just have to be clean and free of any residue. Pro tip though, they cannot be screw top. You're going to need some bottle caps. These must be brand new. You'll need a bottle capper, so you can use a hand capper or what's called a bench top capper. You'll need some priming sugar or priming tablets. These will be used to carbonate the beer. You'll need a large pot, which will be used to sanitize the bottles. And you'll need a medium-sized bowl, which you'll use to sanitize the caps. Speaking of sanitization, you'll need some sanitizer. We prefer Star San. You'll need a bottling bucket or a fermenter that's capable of bottling. So this is essentially just a vessel with a spigot on the bottom. And you'll need some tubing as well as a bottling wand. And finally, you'll need some beer or cider. All right, so here's the most important part when it comes to exactly what you're bottling. It needs to be finished. It needs to be done fermenting. That means it needs to have sat for 2 or 3 weeks, and you should have seen at the end of that period no bubbles coming out of the airlock, which means fermentation is likely finished. Or you need to check the specific gravity with a hydrometer, and the specific gravity needs to be near or below 1.010 or 1010. If you bottle beer or cider that hasn't finished fermenting, you could end up with what is called a bottle bomb. This is where the beer or cider continues to ferment inside of the bottle, and it builds up so much pressure that the bottle actually explodes. And this can be, in the best case scenario, something that just causes a big mess. Worst case scenario, though, you could end up with glass shards all over your kitchen or wherever you're storing the bottles. It could even cause an injury. So make sure that fermentation is complete before beginning bottling. All right, so the procedure for bottling is as follows. Step 1, cleaning. Make sure you clean the bottles and really anything that's going to come in contact with the beer before you begin this process. As far as the bottles go, the easiest way to clean them is to toss them in a dishwasher on the sanitize or the high temp setting. And step 2 is sanitization. You're going to want to sanitize anything that is going to come into contact with the beer. So again, this includes the bottles. You'll sanitize them by soaking them in a large pot full of sanitizer solution. You'll sanitize the bottle caps. You'll even sanitize the spigot on the bottom of the fermenter. The easiest way to do this is with a spray bottle, but you could also try to dip it in some sanitizer solution. Just make sure everything that the beer is going to come into contact with has first been sanitized. And again, we like to use Star San. My pro tip here is to make sure you're following the directions on the sanitizer packaging. Don't just toss them in and eyeball it. Read the directions, measure out the water, measure out the sanitizer solution, and that way you'll ensure that the sanitizer is going to do its job properly. All right, step 3, add some priming sugar. The old way of doing this, or I should say the more traditional way to do this, would be to dissolve some corn sugar or priming sugar in hot water, add that into your beer or cider, and then bottle it. We prefer using carbonation tablets. It's just a lot easier and more convenient. So what you'll do is you'll add carbonation tablets to the bottles according to the directions on the packaging and according to the level of carbonation you are hoping to achieve. Pro tip though, don't be like my friend Emmett here and toss them in with your bare hands. I would suggest using a glove and sanitizing that before handling the carbonation tablets. All right, step 4, bottle filling. You'll fill each bottle leaving about an inch of headspace. Pro tip, use a bottling wand. This is a device that prevents overfilling, and don't just dump the beer in from the top into the bottle. This will increase the risk of oxidation, and oxidized beer will end up tasting like wet cardboard or wet paper, which is gross. Step 5, capping the bottles. Place a sanitized cap on top of the bottle and use your handheld capper or your benchtop capper to press it tight down onto the top of the bottle. Pro tip, just give the bottle an inspection and make sure the entire cap is crimped all the way around and there's a tight seal. Step 6, storing and carbonating. After capping is complete, you're going to need to store the bottles at room temperature so they carbonate. You can't just throw them in a refrigerator at this point. If you do, the process needed to actually create the carbonation won't happen. So they need to stay at room temperature for at least 2 weeks in general, depending on the type of yeast you used. After a while, you can throw a single bottle into the refrigerator, chill it down, open it up, and if it's carbonated, you're good to go. If it's not carbonated to your liking just yet, give it a little bit more time and then try it again later. All right, and the most important step is once carbonation has finished and the beer is ready to drink, toss it into the refrigerator, chill it down, and then enjoy it. Pro tip here though, there's probably going to be a little bit of sediment in the bottom of the bottle. It's just yeast, it won't hurt you. But if you don't want to drink that, just pour the beer or cider out of the bottle slowly and it should stay behind. I'm going to leave a link in the description to all of the items that I mentioned that you'll need for bottling beer. And if you like this video, we've done a bunch more just like it. Check out our channel for more.